God is gonna see you through. God is gonna see you through. Through the flood, through the fire, through your storms and through your trials, God is gonna see you through.
Good afternoon. How are you doing today? Here we are again, talking about finances and talking about money. But I do want to say to mothers out there, how was your Mother's Day? I'm sure you had a great Mother's Day and got lots of presents. It might have been a little bit different kind of type of a Mother's Day than you've been accustomed to. I know that mine was because I didn't have the opportunity to have my whole family together. I went over to my son and daughter-in-law's house for dinner and saw my grandchildren, but wasn't with my whole family. But I know it's not always going to be that way, and I know that family will get together soon again. But I had a great Mother's Day, and I'm sure that you had one too. But I just, from the bottom of my heart, just want to wish you a belated Happy Mother's Day, and know that it's not always going to be this way, amen, because it looks like things are kind of looking up. Even though there's still deaths that are taking place in the United States, I still see here in the state of Florida that the things that we're doing by distancing and by wearing our masks and wearing our gloves and so on like that, what I find is that this is helping the percentage go down, which I'm extremely happy about to see that. And I do see the sensibility in some of the areas of this openness now that we're having the restaurants back opening again, but with certain restrictions. But to tell you the truth, I'm finding that people are more apprehensive about going out to a restaurant. Now it's, as a matter of fact, it's not because you're not open, it's because you just have to have business getting in there. And so maybe some promotionals will go on, and that'll get people back into restaurants on a basis of the provisions that are made by 25% and all of that. But today, you know what I want us to talk about? I want us to talk about how to manage our financial destiny. Now, whenever you talk about destiny, you're talking about your future. So I want to talk to us in regards to our financial destiny. And if we watch what we do futuristically, we're going to have financial freedom. But sometimes, I'm sorry to say, do you know, it almost takes deliverance. Takes deliverance in the form of finances. And you say, well, what do you mean by that? What I find is a lot of people are caught up in the web of financial abuse and financial infidelity. Well, what in the world do you mean by infidelity? It's sad to say, but there's a lot of married couples that don't tell the truth to each of their spouses. Today's finances, what I find is she has her checkbook, he has his checkbook, she makes her money, he makes his money. They may come in the middle to pay bills, but there's no general fund. You know, the Bible tells us that in the book of Genesis that whenever we get married, we become one. And we should become one in everything that we do. My husband should know what I do, and I should know what he does financially, because we're making decisions financially together. I think I shared with you a few programs back that whenever we decide to buy something that is a large size, maybe buying a car or refrigerator or he may want some power tool or something like that. Then what do? We come together and say, hey, can we afford to do this according to the amount of money that we have? So I don't find today that that kind of mentality or thinking is out there. But what you do is you get caught up in a web and you begin to tell stories or lies in regards to what you do with your money. So I find this going on today, and I find that people abuse money. Do you know the truth is that the abuse of money is just like alcoholism or drugs, gambling. They're all food, whatever you're addicted to, and everybody's addicted to something. Whatever that something is, good, bad, or ugly, everybody's addicted to something. And when we find financial addiction, we find that people they just can't seem to save any money, and they cannot keep money in their pocket. They've got to spend it. That's the addiction. I get it, I spend it. I get it, I spend it. Never thinking about, quote, the rainy day, never thinking about the future, just living for today and let tomorrow take care of itself. But you know what this is that Jesus came to set the captives free. And anybody that has a financial addiction, and that's what it is, they have an addiction to spending their money. And whenever they spend the money, they don't know half the time where it went to. So when you're addicted to spending, you have got to be set free. That's where I brought in the point of deliverance. And believe me, there's all gauges of people that abuse money. And there are severe cases where, for instance, if somebody has a gambling addiction, they take their whole paycheck and go out and gamble it away. The probability is they lose it. They don't have any money to pay their bills. They don't have any money to support their family. They don't have any money to buy groceries or nothing, because they are addicted to spending money on gambling. Or they may have an abuse on food, or they may have an abuse on alcohol or drugs, spend their full paychecks on that. That's the severity of being financially caught up, and you need deliverance from that. You need deliverance from the drugs that you're addicted to, or the gambling you're addicted to, or the alcohol. Because as I said, Jesus came to set the captives free. And so when you're addicted to spending, you have a great addiction, because it is a domino effect that it affects every single person in your household. See, a person that's addicted to spending, they cannot keep anything in their pocket. If they have any money in their pocket, they want to spend it, always just right out there. Now, if they don't have the money, what they do is they then pull out credit cards. They pull the credit cards out, then they run up a great big bill on the credit cards. They begin to start borrowing money, and before you know it, they'll file bankruptcy. But I have seen over and over again people that have filed for bankruptcy, if they are not delivered from understanding about financial freedom and about taking care of their finances and having a vision for their finances, they wind up in the same position. Wind up in the very same position, because they have never been delivered from the source of the problem. And so, therefore, that's what happens. Now, understand this, money is not a sin. Sin only comes in how we handle the money. It doesn't come in. Just money itself, the commodity of money, is just a form of exchange. You know, way back years ago when there wasn't money, somebody would go and trade a gallon of milk for maybe 2 or 3 loaves of bread, or they would trade potatoes for some onions, or they would trade. This is how it all started. Then there was the monetary of dollar bills, and you earn money and you spend it like that. But everything was barter and trade before, until money came along. So money itself is not a sin. It's the sin comes in, how do you handle your money? That's where the sin comes in. And so the more you develop discipline, the more God will bless you. See, God wants to bless you even more than you want to be blessed. You say, oh, well, I really want to be blessed. But see, God blesses us in so many different ways. It isn't always money. You know, you might think that it is, but it isn't. It isn't always money. People receive mighty, mighty blessings. When someone, for instance, even in these days that we're living in, people that have the money and are gracious, they pay for people's grocery bills that are in front of them because they see the need. Because maybe it's a single mother there with 2 or 3 children. She just barely makes it. As a matter of fact, it happened to me the other day. I had a woman there, and that was in front of me, and she had her little change purse out, and she was trying to find this, and so I just told the clerk, I said, how much does she owe? She told me how much it was. I paid her the money, and I said, God bless you, and let her go on. I didn't want her to feel the embarrassment of having to scrape pennies in order to get groceries enough to take care of her family and to take care of those children. So these are the kind of things that can go on. But the more that you develop discipline, the more God can bless you. Whenever you change your thinking about money. Now, all of us value money to a degree, some more than others. I believe in valuing money, but I believe in having a vision. Well, how do I have a vision? Well, I have a plan. I have a plan for my money. See, I want all my bills paid. Well, if I want to pay all my bills on a timely manner, do you know what? I've got to be able to balance out the amount of money that I make, put a certain amount of money away for my house payment, a certain amount of money away for my electric bill, my water bill, my telephone, whatever my bills are. I've got to be able to discipline myself to be able to put that money away so when the time comes for me to make those payments, I can make those payments. Why? Because I put the money away. Now, if I didn't put that money away, when the time comes, I'd always be late. What does lateness do? Lateness just reduces your credit, how much credit that you can have. Maybe one day you want to buy a house, but if your credit score is not up there where it needs to be, you'll never be able to buy a house. So that's what I'm talking about. You have got to think about your future. You got to plan it. You got to have a vision for what your money is going to be able to buy and be able to handle now and also in the future. So, back to the point is, God wants to bless you. He wants to bless you. But he is not going to bless a person that is constantly abusing their money. He's not going to bless them. You know why? Because you have a part in it. It's the choices that you make when you spend that money. It's the choices. Am I going to spend it on something frivolously? Am I going to just spend it on myself for something that's either going to tear up or break or just because I want it. So you see, or are you going to put that money away for the future because you don't really need that thing right now? It's a want, it's not a need. And too many people are traveling financially on their wants and not enough for traveling financially really on their needs. They're doing it because of what they want. We live in a I want world, and I want it now. I want it instantly. I want it right now. But what God will bless is that He will not position you for it if you can't handle it. Now, I'm talking about the blessings of God. God, unless you exercise discipline, God will not bless you or put you into a position if you can't handle it. Now, you might say, well, what do you mean by that? You can't handle it. Well, exactly. If money burns a hole in your pocket and you can't possibly put any money away or do anything like that, you know what? God knows you can't handle it. God will give you more and more and more if you can reach the point of being able to handle what God gives you. See, some people think that being in debt is a way of life. Some people actually think that they rest their mind in, doesn't make any difference. I'm going to be in debt the rest of my life. Now, you talk about stinking thinking, that's stinking thinking. And I have to praise God for my mother, because my mother told me years ago, you don't have to be in debt. The only reason that you're in debt is because you put yourself there and you have come to the mindset, I'm going to be this way the rest of my life. But you know something? I made up my mind. I am not going to be in debt the rest of my life. I set a plan in motion and said, this is how I'm going to handle this. And by the time I reach this point, I'm going to have these bills paid off and I'm going to be able to save money so that I am not I am not a slave, as the Bible speaks about being a slave to the lender. I'm not going to be a slave to the lender. I made up my mind. I wasn't. If there was anything, I was going to be the lender, not the one that had to pay the extra interest. So you see, some people think that they're going to be in debt and that's just a way of life. And it could be that way in your life because that's the only example you had in front of you. See, we are a victim or a victor of our upbringings. If our parents did not train us in certain areas of life, then they have done us a great disservice. I sat down with my kids when they got to the point that they were working and making money. They knew my lifestyle. They knew how I looked at things. They knew how I looked at money. We discussed those things. But then when they started making their own money, I said, look, let's sit down, let's start a budget for you, and let's make sure that you know and you've got a vision for where your money is going to go and what your money is going to do. And I set them down very early and said, the very first thing that you do is you tithe. If you made $10 this week, you tithe $1. If you made $20, you tithe $2. I taught them that that was the principle of the blessings of God, is being disciplined, being obedient to God and to God's word. If you want the blessings from God, then you have got to discipline yourself enough to understand God has certain things that He's saying in His Word that we do. If you will do this, I will bless you here. If you will do that, I will bless you here. See, God has His, what I'll call it, rules and regulations. And if you and I comply by the rules and regulations of God in all aspects of our life, God is definitely, I can stand here and say to you, definitely, God will bless you in every aspect of your life. And so, you may have not had the example, and the example may have said to you, you're going to be in debt all your life. So you were raised with that mentality, I'm going to be in debt the rest of my life. It doesn't have to be. Break it right now. If that was how you were raised, break it right now. You don't have to be in debt for the rest of your life. You can get out of debt, save money for the future, invest your money, let your money grow for you. You let your money grow for you. You don't grow money for somebody else. You let it grow for yourself. And with that, when you reach a certain age and you get into your 60s or 70s of age, you're not going to have to worry about money because you've done the proper thing when you were younger. Now, if you're more mature now, these principles still apply to you. These kind of principles are still applicable, and you can make changes now. If you are of the mature age, change your ways. Change how you think. Change how you have a vision for your money. Whatever that money is, you may even have just Social Security coming in, or maybe a little bit of a retirement or whatever. But you are abusing that money and you're spending everything that comes in, and then you worry about this and you worry about that. No need to worry if right now you stop in your tracks and say, I'm not going to spend this money on these different frivolous things, but what I'm going to do is that I'm going to sit back, make myself a budget so that I can move forward, save a little bit of money. Maybe you want to go on a vacation. Maybe you'd like to go on a cruise somewhere. Wonderful, but save for it. Don't go in debt for it. Person came into my office and wanted financial counseling. You know what they did? They went and borrowed $5,000 so that they could go on this great big lavish cruise that they went on. That was the year before. Now they're still paying for that cruise at about 20% interest. So you see, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. Discipline yourself to say, no, I'm not going to go this year. I'm going to save my money so that when I go next year and I go on a cruise or a trip of some kind, I've already paid for it, I've taken care of it, and I can go and have myself a good time and not worry about having to pay that money back again. So you've got to change your thinking. Everything changes. See, what you have to do is that respect what money can do for you. You have to think smart. See, it isn't the money itself, it's what can money do for you? What does it buy? What does it select for you? So, what you have to respect what money can do for you and think money smart. Think about money. When you think about money, have some smart thinking about it. What is it that you really desire to have? Let's just say, for instance, you have reached a plateau in regards to your money. You have your bills where they're paid, and you're paying them in a timely manner now. A timely manner is you pay your bills whenever they come due, or within a week of the time that they come due, you've paid your bills. So therefore, you can maintain your credit at a good point, and still, not bring your credit rating down. So, if you pay your bills between, say, the first and the seventh of the month, and you've maintained that, now you've maintained that. So now you've reached that point or that plateau in your life. So now maybe you've saved a little bit of money, and you reach a point that what you want to do now is that there's something you may want to buy. So, okay, I've maintained myself, I've disciplined myself, I've begun to put money away instead of buying it on credit. I've put money away so that maybe I can pay mostly cash for it. That's the point that I really want to get you to. That no matter what you get, you're going to be able to pay for it in full and not have to charge it in any way where you have to pay interest out. That's the point, and that's the echelon that I would like to really bring you to. But it's steps, and it takes steps to go to that before we can reach that point. So, what does that entail? That entails thinking smart about your money. Okay, now let's hypothetically say you want to buy a refrigerator and you make your choice. Well, let me see. I think I would like to buy a stainless steel refrigerator. And I want one of the kinds of refrigerator that the bottom has the freezer down at the bottom, and you pull it out and so on. So it's a little on the costly side, but this is the next step. Okay, you've saved the money for it. You've got the money in your bank waiting to buy this. Now, what's the next step you do? Now, remember what I said. Think money smart. So what's the next thing you do? I'm glad you asked me that question. This is what we do. We then start shopping. We shop, we see who has the best price. Now, don't just take anything. You compare what I call apples to apples. Know what the serial number is, know what the model is, know the year it was made, know the height of the refrigerator. I'm just going to talk about a refrigerator right now. But you'll apply these principles in anything else that you may purchase as a large item. So that's comparing apples to apples. So let's just say, for instance, that you went to Walmart. You saw this model you liked. What you do then is write down the model, write down the serial number, write down the height, exactly what you want with the freezer down at the bottom. Now you've got that, and you've got their price. Now you may go to an appliance store, check them out for the same model, all of that, see what their price is. Get at least 3 different estimates or 3 different prices. Then that's called thinking smart about your money. Now, Walmart may have it at this price. The appliance stores may have it here. Another store may have it here. And you look and you do what that's called comparative shopping. Try to get that word into your vocabulary now. It's called comparative shopping. So now you find which of the prices is the lowest of exactly the model you want. You've made your decision. I want this model. So now I'm going to do comparative shopping, and I'm going to shop around and see and get 3 different prices, go 3 different places, and then I'm going to buy that refrigerator that has the most reasonable price. That's called comparative shopping. I personally do that on everything that I buy. I don't buy anything unless I do comparative shopping. I don't care how small it is or how big it is. I do comparative shopping. Now, I know this sounds elementary, but this has saved me money through the years. I did all of the grocery ads, and I began, whenever I start to make out my grocery list, I pretty much know in my head exactly what my meals are going to be for the week. Now, then I look at the grocery ads. I then start doing comparative shopping as well as what the prices are. Now, just this past week, one grocery store had blueberries at $2.99 a pint. I know this is kind of silly, but I want you to see what I'm talking about comparative shopping. I went to another grocery store, same blueberries, but they were 2 pints for $3. So which should I choose? What do you think I should choose? This store over here that sold me 1 pint for $2.99, or this store over here sold me 2 pints for $3. I paid 1 cent more for 1 whole pint, comparatively speaking. Those were the two. The other store that I looked at was $2.99, the same thing this other store was. Now, which one do you think I went to? You're absolutely right. I went to the one that was 2 for $3. Exactly. But you see, I don't care how small something is or how large something is. Basically, what did I do? If I'd have wanted to purchase 2 pints, which I did purchase 2 pints, because my plans this weekend is to make blueberry pie, fresh blueberry pie. So with blueberries so cheap, you can afford to make a nice, fresh blueberry pie. So I don't care how small it is or how large it is, you do that comparative shopping, and that comes out of the category of thinking smart about your money. See, you are showing respect for your money when you do that by being smart. So what you don't respect, you can ultimately lose it. If you don't respect your money, you're going to lose it, because it doesn't make any difference to you because you don't respect it. But not only money, if you don't respect your friends and keep a relationship with your friends, you're going to lose them. If you have other relationships, if you don't attend to it and think smart about it and respect it, you're going to lose other relationships. But listen to this one. If you don't respect God's blessings, you're going to lose it. See, we have to respect what God does for us. And I think that a lot of us take God for granted. And I'll tell you, there are times I take God for granted, and I have to shake my head and say, what am I doing? I can't take God for granted. I know God loves me. I know that I'm God's child, and I'm God's daughter. But you know what? I have to respect God and respect what God has done for me in my life, now, in the past, and in the future. God has blessed us, my husband and I, so much. But you know what? We have disciplined ourselves to walk His ways. And when you do, that automatic blessing comes. So I respect God, just like we have to respect money, we have to respect our friends, we have to respect our relationships, or we will absolutely lose it. Because of the web we're in right now financially in this world, we had better respect what God has done for all of us. See, there's a lot of companies and businesses, especially in the food business, that are deep in debt. and have been paralyzed by what this, this coronavirus has done to this world. Right now, there is well over 3.3 million people that are out of work, and it appears that around 500,000 people are applying for unemployment every single day in these United States. So these businesses that have not thought smartly about their money, and they were caught up in the world. You see, this time last year, we were riding the high ground. We were riding the high ground all the way up through December. And when this virus started spreading all the way across to the United States, it started here in January, early January, even late December, just with only a few cases. I think the latter part of December there was 3 cases in the United States, and it was all out in California. And didn't think anything of it. And as it has progressed across the United States, and the financial world appears to be moving in a collapse, I don't feel it's going to collapse. I feel that it's going to be tough getting back on top again. It's going to be hard. One of these things is businesses have been so far in debt they can't pay their bills. That brings another domino effect about who they owe, and those people that they owe, they can't pay their bills, and as I said, it's just a domino effect. Tourism here in the state of Florida is the #1 source of income. Our tourism has absolutely dried up. And if these companies are depending upon their tourism, then there are many, many companies that are going to go out of business or either going to attempt to try to sell their business, and they're going to have to get pennies on a dollar. Why? Because they did not think smart about their money. So businesses, and especially in the food business, they have to keep an inventory going. Now, if you'll notice in the grocery stores, and I don't know whether you've noticed it where you go shopping, but if you noticed in the grocery stores, the shelves for things that you have been so accustomed to getting, those shelves are beginning to get sparse, just like the shelves were where the paper towels and the toilet paper was. Now, that's beginning to creep back, and all that's beginning to get kind of back to normal. Not overstocked, but back to a little bit of normality. But all the rest of the foods, if you'll really now, when you go to the grocery store the next time, you see what I say. And practically every store that I know of in the area in which we live, the shelves are getting sparser and sparser. Why? Because all of a sudden, things have stopped, and we are beginning to have somewhat of a little bit of shortage, not overage, but shortage of certain things. Now, there hasn't been anything that I have not been able to get. So I don't want to create any kind of chaos or panic with you that, run down to the grocery store and get what you're going to get. I don't mean that. What I'm simply saying is that because of businesses and not be able to move in the trucking businesses and getting things as fast as they were able to get them before, we are finding that the shelves are sparser. They're bringing out all of that inventory that they had stacked up in the back and bringing it out and taking care of. They're not outdated. Everything is dated and dated good. It's just that the shelves are getting a little bit sparser. And it's because of the companies and things that they may owe. And this has absolutely, just absolutely paralyzed some. Now, there are some businesses out there that will never recover. Because why? And it all goes back to two things: buying and selling. You've got to have the stuff on the shelf for people to come in and buy. But because of everything that has gone on and delays in deliverance, these things are happening, and there may be some businesses that will never recover because they were so much in debt, and so many bankruptcies will be filed. You can mark my words, you're going to find we went through a stage where there was so many bankruptcies. This was in the housing field, if you remember that. That was in the housing field where all the bankruptcies were going on. People that had money were picking up houses for a song and a dance, you might say. And it was just, very inexpensive houses were. Then finally the housing market began to balance out. And then houses went on the rise around 2014-15. Houses were beginning to rise from there, recovering from the 2007 recession that the housing market kind of brought about. So I find that there's going to be a lot of bankruptcies that take place, and we're going to have to work with that. Do I think that we're going to have the kind of recession we had in 2007? No, I don't think so. I think that we are going to have a few tough times, and if you have really handled your money right, and if you have had smart thinking and how to handle your money, I think you're going to be fine. But there's going to be those that you and I both know that have not, handled their money right, businesses that haven't handled their money right. They've just gone out on limbs, or they've tried to expand. I think even churches, for a season, that have tried to expand and have different arms going here and there and everywhere, I think that through this, financially, they're going to feel the sting. But if they are financially set, they'll be okay. But that goes for a business, that goes for a church, that goes for anything in life. So also, because of this is going to bring about permanent job losses, and it's bringing about, or going to bring about, the unemployment. And so here's where we are. These are the things. I believe they're going to come up with a vaccine. I believe that this coronavirus will get under control. I believe all of that. But it's still leaving us the pieces to pick up, which will be businesses possibly closing, businesses not doing the things that they have been able to do, or businesses trying to sell, and they're selling them, having to sell them at a small price, maybe just for the inventory that's in the business, and just let the business go for the inventory. Or, you just can't ever tell, of the unemployment. So those are the after effects that we are going to be dealing with. Those are the after effects we're going to be dealing with, because many businesses have had to reinvent themselves to survive. That's just where we are. So now that's smart thinking. That is smart thinking on a business. They are reinventing themselves and doing products that, for instance, I saw in the news the other day about a business that was doing something else, but now they realize that the flex that separates you between each other, that Flexiplex or Plexiflex or whatever they call it, then he has started a business. He had all the equipment and all the stuff to do it in, so now he reinvented himself and he's back in business again. So this is what's going to happen. We're going to find people that have got to reinvent their businesses and what they're doing with the equipment that they have. And if you have a job and no break in your finances, if you have a job and there's no break in your finances, you're blessed. You are absolutely blessed people. And there's a lot of people out there that are moving in that realm. But I'm saying to you, if you have a job and there has been no layoffs or there's no been cut in pay, you are blessed people because God has really blessed you that you are in a position to do that. See, the coronavirus has shattered our economy. It has shattered the economy. And now, I think the latest, I think I quoted the 3.3, but now they're saying 6.65%, 6 million, 6.65 million people are unemployed, totally unemployed. And this is a rate of 23%. 23% of the people in the United States are unemployed. Now, let's go back to December of 2019. Just 4 months ago, the rate was down to 3.2. That was the unemployment rate, 3.2, the lowest it has been in years and years. Now, in just this 4 months, it has jumped up to 23%. So now, as you see, and as I shared with you, this is going to be the next wave that these United States is going to have to deal with. But it's not just here in the United States. The world has got an economical situation, an issue, just like we do. But we're going to get back. Believe me, we're going to make it back. Everything is going to be fine. But what I'm saying to you is be smart with your money. Be smart with your money. See, you may have to, as businesses have done, you may have to reinvent yourself. You may have to reinvent yourself. Well, what do you mean? I mean that you may have to even change your careers. You may have to totally and completely go into another field just to survive, depending on what that field was that you were in originally. Now, there's certain professions and fields that people are in that are surviving very well. They're doing for instance, teachers. Teachers are doing very well. Why? Because the children have got to be taught. Whether they're taught in a classroom or they're taught on Zoom and Loom, that's the big thing now, Zoom and Loom. So if they're being taught, but anyway, teachers are being paid because of what they're of being a teacher, and children have to be taught. People are working in grocery stores. They haven't lost their jobs in the grocery stores because people have to go to the grocery stores. So there's several areas that there is, quote, job security. And those are the people that if they stay steady, they take care of their money, they get smart with their money, they will be able to help work with these unemployed people and bring them back to work. So you may have to reinvent yourself in order to survive. But let's look at the specific goals that you want to achieve. That's what I want us to look at, and I want us to talk about your specific goals that you as an individual want to achieve in your life. There are certain goals. Whenever you think about your life and you have a vision for what you want to accomplish in life, all of us, God has placed within each one of us to accomplish. We all want to feel like that we are doing something worthwhile on this earth. A lot of times I hear people, well, I wonder why God ever put me on earth. He put you on earth for a reason. And so next week we're going to be talking about the goals that you want to achieve. And what I'd like you to do this week is think about this, the goals that you want to achieve with your life. Write those goals down. Let's talk about them. If you would like me to discuss this with you, or if you would like to send in anything that you would like me to share and to discuss, on our program, I'll be more than glad to do that. But this is what we're going to be talking about now, specific goals that you want to achieve. And there's certain things that you want to achieve in life. You could want to pay off all your bills. You want to be frugal in the present. Save for the future. What are some of the goals that you want to do? I want to get out of debt. Well, praise God. Okay, then we're going to start talking how to accomplish you getting out of debt. So next week, we're going to be talking about the specific goals. Well, I'm so glad that you're here with me today. And, God is on the throne. And always remember this in life. No matter what, God will always see us through.
Your trials, God is going to see you through. Oh, God is going to see you through somehow, some way. Oh, God is going to see you through.